My name's Ivan Counsell. I live at Hallbridge in Gloucestershire. I think build bikes. It's just absolute obsession. You know, I've just been bikes all my life. My uncles did motocross, road racing. One of them did circuit racing in Group C cars. My mum rode a bike since the age of 16. My dad did trials. You know, my dad's he's 85, 86. And he's got a 750 Honda from 1971 in the garage, and he won't let me have it because he can tell people that he's got this K1 750. When I had my first motorbike, which was a 150 D3 Bantam, it was modified for what they called schoolboy scrambling back then. It was still a little bit too big for me, but my uncle took me to the field where they used to practice on their scramblers, as it was called then, and made me, you know, get on and ride it. You know, shut up and get on with it. You know, I was frightened. It had like this, a straight through expansion chamber. It was ear splitting. You know, I was sort of just 11 years old, and it was sort of like, put it in gear, go. You know, it's just, ooh. It's funny because even at that age, you thought you could ride because you watch your uncles tear around the track. Think, oh, I could do that. When you actually get on for the first time, have a go, it's a bit sort of, well, a bit frightening. But you know, soon got the hang of it, and then it's just, it was sort of an obsession before I first rode because I was just involved in it so much. I started off with the front loop of about a 1956. It is a D3 150 Bantam with a swinging arm. Now on the swinging arm D3, it actually, all the back end bolts on to the front loop. And for some unknown reason, and my friends would probably be able to explain it better than me, suspension is not really my thing. I'm so used to it, all my bikes being unreliable and uncomfortable, that I thought, well, I quite like the look of rigid back ends. So I made this back end that bolts on all the original mounts that the original D3 frame bolted on, not to ruin the original front loop. The expansion chamber off it is off a grass track Bantam that I bought that was complete. The engine was out of my other Bantam, a D14 from 1968 with a 4-speed gearbox. Ripped it apart, took the crank out. I got some drawings, ancient drawings from when they used to tune Bantams in the 60s. So I took the drawing and the crankshaft to my mate, and he machined the flywheels down to the same dimensions. And of course, when you do that, you've got a great big space in the crankcase, so you've got to have some aluminium packers made up. So gave him the dimensions on paper of all those, so that is all in the crankcase. It's got an alpha conrod, which the small end is bored out to take a Suzuki small end bearing. So it's got Suzuki TS185, early TS185 piston in it. So it's out to 198cc now. And it's got a George Todd cylinder head. We use a famous tuner in the 60s. Amyl concentric carb, which has been jetted up. It's only mildly tuned at the moment. And it's also got, because the D14 engine, the 4-speed, they had the points on the right hand side in the clutch case because they had an alternator and battery. But because I fitted Suzuki stator plate and flywheel off a 1980s sort of Suzuki TS ER50, it's all self-generating on the left-hand side now. So I've put the earlier 3-speed Bantam cases on, so people actually think it could be a 3-speed Bantam, but it's not. Did all the paint myself, and believe it or not, it's all done from aerosol cans or rattle cans, whatever you want to call them. I mean, it's quite a task to do, but it's come out fine, you know.